Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest edition of the Hudson County Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Haig, and with me today is a historical woman from Bayonne who is now currently the all-time leader in the state of New Jersey in combined victories in boys volleyball, girls basketball, and girls volleyball with close to 1,800 victories. And she's had a long-standing career coaching those three sports in Bayonne, and had a lot of championships along the way. And it's my friend Pat Longo. Pat, how are you today? And thanks so much for joining me.
I'm very good today, and it's an honor to be with you.
Right. Well, it's my honor to have you with me. So anyway, all right, you grew up in Bayonne, and talk a little bit about what it was like to be, a girl in a boy's world athletically in Bayonne growing up when you did.
Well, it was interesting because at the time of growing up in Bayonne, it was times when kids were always outside playing. And I lived on a block where we had a very active block, so you couldn't wait to get home from school and change your clothes and get outside and play with everybody else. And we didn't need at that time adults to organize what we were doing outside while we were playing. So we always had some great competitive activities going on, whether it was diamond ball or stickball or football in the street. We played points on our steps.
And what street was this, Pat?
This is 38th Street in Bayonne.
38th Street, and in between where and where?
Between Broadway and Avenue E.
Oh, okay. All right. Continue. So you had a bunch of kids, pretty much your age, all growing up on the same block?
Yeah, we were all around the same age growing up, and we couldn't wait to get home to play. To play outside and organize whatever we were going to do that day.
Okay.
We even were so creative that in the summer we used to put plays on for the block.
Plays like that?
Yeah, plays. Like I remember we did Rumpelstiltskin one year.
Oh my God!
Different things. Yeah, we were very creative. Then if it was nice, we'd take our bikes and ride down the park and have lunch there, had a picnic there and lunch, and it was great. And when it snowed, we built a fort in the backyard, and we had a great snowball fight.
Okay. All right, and then how many other girls were part of this contingency on 38th between Broadway and Avenue E?
There were girls. I mean, maybe there were about 5 or 6 girls, and maybe there were about 8 boys. But
okay, so it was pretty even.
Yeah. It didn't matter, boys, girls, everybody came out.
Okay.
And we played and had a great time.
Okay, and did any of the boys at all treat you any differently because you were a girl, or you were just everybody was all the same?
Not at all. I mean, at that point in my life, everybody was all the same. We all played. I mean, as I grew older, and I traveled to grammar school because I went to St. Andrews, so I traveled either by bus or I got a ride from my father in the morning. My father worked 2 jobs. He worked for Gulf Oil, and my father also worked for Undertakers.
Okay, you did tell me that, right?
My father, was working the midnight shift. He would come home, he'd change into his, black suit, white shirt, black tie, and he'd have the limousine, and he would drive me to school. So we would pull up alongside of St. Andrews, and the limousine would pull up, and I would be in the back seat because I always liked to play with the windows, and he would tell me, put that window down, and I would put it up again, and he would pull up, and I'd say, oh, please don't open the door. He said, oh, no, I have to. So now here my father was dressed, as a chauffeur, getting out of the car to let me out of the limousine. So they thought we were rich.
Of course.
Pickup down. So it was a fun time.
Okay.
But I also would have to take the bus coming home from school if he was working. And as I waited for the bus, it was a boring kind of thing. So I had to occupy my time. So I started to play with the yo-yo. And yo-yos at that time were popular. So therefore I became pretty competitive with a yo-yo. And my stepmother at the time took me to some tournaments, and I got pretty good at it. And I ended up going to a national tournament in New York and I came out third in the national tournament.
Wow. Okay. And what was this? Is it in the early 60s?
This was in the late 60s, yes.
Late 60s. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, I know it, but a lot of our listeners probably don't know. You had to deal with some tragedy at a very young age. You lost your mother when you were still very, very young, correct?
Yes, my mother passed away when I was 2.
2.
So I was, I really have no recollection of my mother.
Okay. And was she sick, or what she died from?
Yes, my mother died of cancer.
Oh, and she must have been very, very young then, huh?
Yes, she was. I was 2 at the time, and my father still worked, and he was busy. So at that time I was in a lot of people's hands. His sister would take care of me when he worked shift work, and I know my uncle, my mother's brother, wanted to take me, and my father said no. So, he did everything he could for me. And then he remarried when I was 4 to an Italian woman by the name of Anna Sherbo, and she was wonderful. She treated me as if I was her own daughter.
All right. And did Anna have any children on her own, or Anna
did not. That was the first time she married.
Okay.
And she had no children of her own, but she had 6 sisters and 1 brother.
Wow, typical Italian family.
Typical Italian family, and when the sisters got together, sisters were terrific cooks and bakers. So when they got together, everything was homemade.
Wow.
My stepmother made homemade breads, and the sisters would get together and make manicotti and ricotta and stuffed shells, and just a lot of great things that the Italian cousins, as I refer to them, because I do have a set of Irish cousins. My mother was Irish. My mother's name is Kenny, and when we have a reunion every year, twice a year. We meet during the summer, and then we meet again right before Christmas. And everybody would say, "Well, what was your favorite cookie?" And they would say, "Aunt Anna's Italian knot cookie." So
Italian knot, huh? Okay.
Yep. Mhm. So I watched a lot of things that she made, and I've picked up some of her techniques. So I have gotten into some baking and things. So
wow.
At some point, I'd like to share with you.
See, there's a piece that I never knew. I've known you for over 30 years, and I never knew that you were a baker. See, you learn something new every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, and then how much of an influence was your father on you to be involved in sports and being a sports fan?
Well, my father and my stepmother were very encouraging. They never, denied me the fact of trying different things and being involved with things. My father was a softball pitcher for Gulf Oil. So anytime we would go to the shore or just being home, he worked shift work. There was always a softball and a glove in the car, wherever, if we went down the shore, or just to have a catch in the driveway. So, he was very instrumental in that. And I got into basketball when I was at St. Andrews. So, I would go up the corner at Horace Mann School and just shoot. And I'd shoot. We'd go down the shore. We'd go in Seaside, and I'd be at the park with him, working on my shooting and everything. So it helped me when I went to Holy Family and played for the legendary Maureen Withelke,
who you have now beaten to the punch on the Hudson County Sports Podcast. We had one scheduled a couple weeks ago, and unfortunately there was a cancellation. And so now you're going to be on before Maureen is on. But I've talked to her about it, and she's very interested in being a guest on the podcast. And I told her I wanted John to sit right next to her so I can get, like a two-headed monster, her and John to talk at the same time. So
the best.
they are really the best.
They are absolutely fabulous.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And wonderful people. All right, so let's go back to you. Let's go back to your childhood, and you obviously grew up a big sports fan, and I know for a fact that you followed the Yankees, and I don't know about pro football. Did you follow the Giants as well?
My father liked the Giants so much that I remember going to San Francisco once year. I had a tough time finding a San Francisco Giants T-shirt, as if you can imagine. And he liked the Giants so much that when I did get it, he would put his San Francisco, New York Giants on a Sunday afternoon playing football.
Oh my God! Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But my father was a Mets fan, not Yankees.
Oh wow!
He was a National Leaguer. Mm-hmm.
And did you become a Met fan as well, or you stuck with the Yankees?
I did. I absolutely followed the Mets.
Oh, see, so now there's a reason why I like you then, Pat. There's something else I never knew. See, Met fans got to stick together. There's no question because we're dwindling by the numbers. But I am a diehard Met fan, and it's very hard in my house because I'm married to a diehard Yankee fan. So you can imagine what the 2000 World Series was in his house. It was not. It was not fun. It was not fun. But anyway. All right, so and talk to me a little bit about at that time when you were growing up. There was not any organized sports for girls, and how tough was that? Not having obviously maybe you played in CYO, but when you got to high school, was there organized sports, or did you have to wait your turn like everybody else?
Well, when I was in grammar school, there was CYO. There was CYO basketball. There was also CYO track, run by, I don't know if you remember this name.
John Knapp. Oh, who's that?
John Taglerini.
John Taglerini, I didn't remember well, but John Knapp did that too as well. Who's the one you mentioned?
John Marino.
John Marino, sure. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Both of them were instrumental in track at St. Andrews, where I ran track.
Okay.
And you also have, at these meets was the famous Mario Trions.
Oh, okay.
He was instrumental in starting all these track programs for young children at the time.
And is that Richie's father?
I've had the privilege of working with his son, Richie.
Yeah, okay. Richie, good.
It was who I worked with Richie at Bayonne High School. We never knew each other. Richie and I met in Bayonne Park when I was coaching at St. Peter's College softball. He was at a track practice for Bayonne High School, and he came over and he introduced himself, and he said to me, "Who are you playing today?" I said, "We're playing West Point." And he just looked at me, and all of a sudden, about 10 minutes later, the bus pulled up, and they got off the bus, and he just looked at me and he said, "Good luck."
Good luck. Yeah, right. Yeah. I know that feeling all too well at working at St. Peter's, and we used to have to play Army all the time because they were in the MAC conference with us, and everything we played against them was just really, really bad. Just it was not competitive at all. So, all right. So, but by the time you got to Holy Family, there was competitive girls, or was it 3-on-3?
Absolutely,
there was. Okay.
Competitive. Yes, the Holy Family played in the North Jersey Catholic Girls Basketball League.
Sure.
And I think the woman who started basketball at Holy Family's name was Mrs. Gantley.
Okay.
And then came Maureen McLaughlin.
Oh, wow, okay.
Out of Montclair State.
Yep.
And then she had coached there for 16 great years. Yeah. And she was wonderful. I can't say enough about Maureen because, I think it's because of her I'm where I am right now.
Wow, that's a great compliment. So, so you played for Maureen, and what was that like to you? Obviously, she wasn't the legend then, but she was juggling both coaching at Montclair State and coaching Holy Family at the same time, correct?
Well, not at the time when I was in school. When I was in school, she was teaching in Hoboken. I believe she was teaching elementary physical education, and then she was coaching at Holy Family.
Oh, okay.
Until later on that she went on to coach at Holy Family and Montclair and Holy Family. But I had played for her, and then after I played for her, I went to right now Kane University.
Sure.
And I played there. When I graduated, and I also played softball in college.
Right. Now, and I've asked you this question before. What do you think you were better at? Were you a better softball player, or were you a better basketball player?
I'm going to put it to you this way. Would you like to shoot for dollars?
No, not at this point in my life. No. I think
basketball.
Okay.
I think basketball was always my true love. You know, but I did enjoy softball. I did play, in many competitive leagues. I played AAU. I did play a travel league. So, as a matter of fact, there were 3 of us that were sent from Bayonne to go on to a higher division level of softball.
Right. And that's when you're still in that was when you were still in grammar school, right?
This is when I was out of high school.
Oh, out of high school. Okay.
And we played in the Department of Parks League, which at the time was very, very competitive. I believe there were about 24 teams.
Wow.
And you were graded as a player. There was a 1 list, a 2 list, and a 3 list. And it was really, really some very, very talented softball players came out of that list.
And who ran that softball league back then?
It was the Department of Parks.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's
and it was good. I believe it was Buddy Klimkowski.
Buddy Klimkowski did? Okay. And did you those games were played down at 16th Street?
We played down 16th Street. We played down Gorman Field, and a man named Vince Cook developed a team out of Bayonne.
Okay.
Assumption FC. And we traveled around and we played, and it was very, very competitive. But they presented us to go to a higher level, and they sent 3 of us to the Islin Golden Girls, was the name of the team, and it was Pat Demansky, Pat Colacerto, and myself.
Wow!
So he asked all 3 of us what our names were.
Pat.
He said the same thing. He said, "Is this the only name they have in Bayonne?" But it was, the 3 of us were very competitive. Probably Pat Demansky pitched and she played the outfield. Pat Colacerto played second base. I played shortstop. And as Tom Budjanowski used to say, we were the best double play players that he's ever seen.
And you probably could have played for his teams back then because they weren't that good, right?
Yeah,
right? No.
Yeah.
They only got better in the 70s, but in the 60s, or early 70s, they were not that good. So you probably could have probably played varsity with the 2 of you. So no question.
She was a tremendous long ball hitter, Pat Colacerto.
Oh, I could imagine that. I'm not gonna, because she was a long ball basketball player too, So, but anyway,
absolutely.
No,
Maureen went on to when I graduated college. I graduated Kane, and I was recruited immediately to come back and be an assistant softball coach there. So I was an assistant softball coach immediately after college. And then I was hired as an assistant basketball coach, of which I was there
at Kane.
At Kane.
Okay. And back then, was it called Newark State back then, or?
It was when I graduated. It was Newark State College.
Okay.
Then it was Kane College, and then it became Kane University.
Right.
So when I was coaching there, it was Kane College.
Oh, okay. All right.
It had changed. At the time when I was coaching basketball, Maureen had moved on and was coaching Holy Family and Montclair State.
And that alone is amazing, right? Think about you coach basketball for a long time. Could you imagine trying to coach 2 teams at the same time?
Well, it was difficult for me because when I was coaching Holy Family, I was in preseason with softball at St. Peter's College.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I was doing 2 practices a day. One was a little bit earlier than the other, and the other was like at 4:30 because I would go to St. Peter's first. The layout of the gym at St. Peter's?
Of course, yes.
Okay. So we would have court C, and if we were, working on some fielding and everything, I just remember Charlene Maxon being in center field. Do you remember Charlene?
Very well, sure.
Tremendous athlete.
Yep.
Great center fielder and leadoff hitter. And I would fungo off the bat, and I could bank it off the glass backboard. And she used to just stand underneath the basket and catch the ball.
Oh my God! You're lucky you didn't break the basket. Break the basket with the softball. I don't think that would have went over well with.
No, no.
with the powers that be, although who was the AD at that time? J.B. Wilson?
At the time, it was Wilson Church.
Barbara Church. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara, who I had the pleasure to work with as well for my 6-year tenure at St. Peter's. So Barbara and I became very, very good friends. So all right. So when you graduated from Kane, you knew right away that you wanted to get into coaching and teaching. Was that the goal?
I was hired at the Bayonne Board of Education. I was hired as an elementary physical education teacher. So I taught in 2 different schools, and then I had 2 very understanding principals that would allow me to leave early because they knew that I coached. So my schedule was adjusted so I could leave so that I could get to a practice.
Okay.
So after being at Kane for 4 years, Rich Wilson was the girls basketball coach, and then Pat Hanish came aboard.
Oh wow! Okay.
Okay.
Pat was there forever.
Yeah. But Maureen's athletic director at Montclair was a woman by the name of Donna Olson.
Okay.
And St. Peter's was starting softball at the time. So, and this was in 77, 78 year. And she recommended me for the position, and that's how I got the job. So as I was leaving Kane, Maureen also wanted me to help her at Holy Family because she was, it was tough for her. And there were times when I did take the team when she was, on the road or something else came up. So I had coached Holy Family a couple times for her at that time.
Okay.
But so I left Kane. I went to St. Peter's, and my next intention was just to go to Holy Family to help Maureen. That's all I was doing.
Okay.
And it was a Monday night. It was raining out. She was on Route 3. She had practice at Montclair first. And then she was coming to Holy Family, and I was already there with the girls. And she came in and she said, I can't do this anymore. They're all yours. And that's how I got the job at Holy Family.
And what year was that? 79?
78.
78. Okay. But at that point, though, Pat, you must have, between coaching at Kane and, being a coach at softball at St. Peter's, you must have felt like you were ready to become a head coach at Holy Family. You felt like you were ready?
Well, Holy Family was familiar to me. I mean, I've always been a part of Holy Family from being a player and then working, and watching and observing and being a part with Maureen. So, it was very comfortable to me. The girls, although they were comfortable with me, they were not happy that Maureen was leaving. I mean, that night was terrible. I mean, you could have put a saltwater pool in the gym from all the tears of her leaving. It was a very sad time because here's somebody who became a legend at Holy Family for her 16 years there, and just did wonderful things. And the girls absolutely, as tough and as demanding and strong she was, they loved her.
Of course.
She definitely made an impression not only in basketball but on their lives.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, but did you feel like you were ready for it, though? You were like saying, or did you say, "Oh my God, this is getting thrown on me"?
Because I had been coaching, at the college level, so now I was, stepping into another position as the head coach.
Okay. All right. And what was it like in those early days coaching Holy Family as the head coach?
Well, I kind of just continued her tradition.
Okay.
I mean, you have to understand, I was a product of her coaching, so I continued her tradition, hopefully, and I think they adjusted to me fairly easy because of that. And that 79 team, we went to the finals of the state tournament.
Wow.
And that was only my second year really there.
Wow.
So it was, it was a great experience, and they didn't have, group 1, group 2, 3, 4. They didn't have that then. They had, just you played, and they divided it north and south, and so it was it was a great experience. We were traveling all over the place to play, and it was great.
And at that time too, correct me if I'm wrong, that North Jersey Girls Catholic League was perhaps the best girls basketball league in the state. You had some great players and great coaches and great teams that came out of that league.
Absolutely.
You
had Rose Battaglia,
right?
Paramus Catholic. You had Ann Donovan, and also Donovan's sisters that we had to play against.
And you didn't have to cover Ann, though, right?
I didn't have to cover her, but I do remember playing up there, and I think it was the 79. I remember it was Diane Clifton, and it was a jump at that point, jump ball. Ann's going to jump. She's 6'8".
Right.
And I put her to jump against the smallest girl we had. Read on the circle. Read where she's going to tap the ball.
Okay.
We got the ball.
Oh, wow. Okay. So.
And we slowed the game down. We played our pace. And at halftime, we were up by 3.
Wow.
And Batag was snapping her gum.
Absolutely.
Not happy. Because Rose Battaglia was one competitive cookie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She's also a very good friend from my days at St. Peter's, and she was the coach at Iona. And she was very friendly with everybody. She was one of the ones that was not competitive off the court with anybody at all. So her and Mike Grinelli got along very well, and we would socialize with Dr. Rose on many times. So she was a great. Well, what do you mean? She still is a great lady. God bless. So
Oh yeah, definitely.
But also in that league, right? You had St. Al's Academy was very good at that time, and
right.
Sister Joan Repka was the head coach, and
Sister Joan Repka,
right, and they went to the state finals in 1980. As a matter of fact, I think they won. They won the state championship in 1980. They had Gloria Bradley, and they had another big girl too as well. So I can't think offhand, but St. Al's Academy was good, and Benedictine Academy was excellent back then.
Right.
So you had some really good girls basketball teams in that league that you had to play in at Holy Family.
Yep. You also had Roselle Catholic, who was very strong, and Mother Seton.
Mother Seton, that's right, and Clark. They were very good.
With Peggy Egan.
Yeah.
Mrs. Egan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there was a little guard that was out of Mother Seton too that went big time. Maybe played at Boston College, and I can't think of her name. Why do I think Rinaldi? But maybe that's not the case. Do you remember a little point guard who was really good, scored about?
I do remember a point guard from Mother Seton. I also remember a point guard from Paramus Catholic that went to Duke.
Wow.
From Paramus Catholic.
See, there's the first time we mentioned Duke in this interview, and we figured that'll come up at least 5 more times before we're done. So.
Absolutely, but she went to Duke, and I remember she then I can't think of her, Sinisi.
Oh yeah. Okay, right. I remember.
And she worked then after she graduated Duke. She lived in Florida and was killed in a car accident.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah, and I remember going up there after that, and I remember there was a plaque there, and I always went over to the plaque because she was a terrific player. As a matter of fact, a lot of these players, Maureen started the Metropolitan Women's Basketball League up at Montclair.
Okay.
And it was for high school players, and it was for college players, and that was one of the great summer programs that was going on. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I do not. No, I'm sorry, I don't remember that. I remember during the regular season, but I don't remember anything during the summer at all.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, yeah. But anyway, so you had success right away at Holy Family, and did that set the tone that you were going to continue to try to maintain the excellence that Maureen gave you?
I think it did. I think it set the players understood and, knew that this was still going to be at the same level when, when Maureen was there. So, I think the transition for the girls was easier than expected.
Okay. When did Holy Family make the decision to leave the North Jersey Girls Catholic League and join the HCIA?
I believe it was in '84.
Okay. And how tough was that for you to admit to it and say, okay, I guess we got to do that? And was it a tough decision at that point?
Well, I think it was a tough decision. We were playing in a very competitive league, and now you were putting us into, the county, which, I understood why they had to do that and everything, but we were very content with playing the competition that we were. And now we were going up against all these, public schools and parochial schools within the county because everybody was doing the same thing.
Right.
So now the rivalry became
right down the block.
In Maris, St. Anthony's, and, so those rivalries now, this is where they, came into play where, and this comes into play because now after being in a grammar school for 7 years teaching, my boss, who was Tom Jacobson, said, I really, I'd like you to come into the high school with Tim Mercier and teach the freshmen. Tim will do the boys, and you'll do the girls at that time because they were separated. And I didn't want to do it. I didn't think it was good for me. But he said, no, this is a better move for you. So I was promoted, or I graduated, I guess, and I went to Bayonne High School to teach. So now I'm teaching, and one of the players that came into Holy Family was a player by the name of Adrienne Goodson.
She went to Holy Family first?
She went to Holy Family. Yep.
See, there's something else I never knew before today. Wow, I never knew that.
She went to Holy Family, and she was in Holy Family for 1 month.
Wow.
And then she just said, I have to transfer. I can't do this. I can't. And, she was recommended to go to Holy Family by a teacher. I believe she was at number 3 school. Her name is Donna Hurley Zahulis, who I went to grammar school and high school with. And she, oh my God, she's wonderful. She praised her and everything. And Donna thought that the best place for her to go was Holy Family. And she was very instrumental in that. And Adrienne came. So it was after a month being in the school. I don't know whether it was 5 weeks or 6 weeks, but Adrienne transfers out of Holy Family to go to Bayonne High School.
Oh my gosh. Imagine that.
So now she's a freshman. Guess who teaches the freshman girls?
Oh. So now you got to see Adrienne Goodson in the classroom, and yet you can't coach her. Oh gosh.
Right. And this is, and now she's playing, she's like, I can't get away from you, and she's playing at Bayonne High School. So, it was a big loss.
Yeah, and who knows? That's a big what if right there, right? What if she never left and ended up playing at Holy Family, and how good you guys would have been if you would have been able to keep Adrienne Goodson. Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
so there's very good, and there's Goodson.
Yes, very good. That's a good line. I like that. That's a good line. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she was definitely in a class by herself.
Definitely.
Yeah, without question. All right. How tough was it for you now to be teaching at Bayonne High and coaching at Holy Family, and that rivalry that was just beginning to smolder at that time? It was just beginning to take wind in the mid 1980s.
Well, it was difficult. It was very difficult. But you know what? I respected Jeff Stabile. And I respected his players, and it was always a respectful relationship. We've had, through the years, many competitive games, and we came out because he had the far superior players, but we came out on the short end of the stick. But I do remember this one time we played them, and it was at Holy Family, and we beat them. And I remember going through the toll in Bayonne at the turnpike, and I remember the ticket taker say, my God, they're following us, like they're watching what's happening with girls basketball. So really started to take off.
There's no question. All right, and the rivalry was huge. Like I'm going to say, from the late '80s through the '90s, it was gigantic, and the gyms would be packed. You couldn't if you didn't get the Holy Family, like say an hour before the game, you were not getting in the gym because your gym only held, I don't know, maybe 200 people, 250 tops. So so if you were not there an hour beforehand, you were not getting into the gym for the Holy Family Bayonne games. There was no way, right? And then
that's true.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden in the early '90s as well, then Marist decides that they're going to allow girls to come into the school. And now it's a three-headed monster. Now you got the Holy Family, Bayonne, and Marist all battling each other, all for supremacy in Hudson County, and yet all three of them are, I don't know what, 4 miles apart. Yeah, all three are Bayonne schools, but they're all located 4 miles apart, one right after the other, right down Avenue C. And how tough was that? Talk a little bit about when Marist then became part of the equation.
Well, when Marist first came into the equation, the woman who was the basketball coach at Marist was a young lady by the name of Christine Mosca.
Oh, sure.
Her marriage name is Dee, who Chris was really my first player coming out of Holy Family, because the night that Maureen said, I can't do this anymore, Chris was a sophomore.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And she was in the gym with me, but she was sick her freshman year. She had something wrong, and she wasn't able to get cleared by the doctor. So Chris never played for Maureen.
Oh,
Chris
wow.
played for me.
Okay.
And Chris became the first basketball coach at Marist. And then she married Kevin D., and they live in the Howland area right now. And they have 3 children. But Chris, and then came Billy.
Right.
But I can go back when Billy was at St. Anthony's, and he had purple underwear.
Yeah.
Billy always had the color underwear of the team he was playing.
Without question.
But
Right.
Billy has 2 daughters.
Yes.
Stacy and Missy. And Stacy went to Holy Family, and Missy went to St. Anthony's. And Stacy always played her best games against her father.
Oh, without question. Against the father and against the sister, no question. They would lock horns, and that would be a very interesting game to watch. There's no question. Although, I hate to say, and they're both very good friends of mine, but neither one of them were great players. They were good players, hard-nosed players, but they didn't turn out to be the great players. They weren't like top of the line all county type players. So no.
They were just competitive and happy and content to be just that competitiveness, and that was it.
Right. Okay. So talk if you can, talk a little bit about. Do you think that the rivalry that you had with those 2 schools helped to draw interest to girls basketball in the county? Do you think that it was good that you had that rivalry that fueled the fire?
I think it was good. I think it was good for girls basketball, and it also was good for in the summer. It was competitive in the summer because you always had the Jersey City League that everybody went into, and it kept them on their toes. I mean, but being a teacher at Bayonne High School, I never ever. And coaching at Holy Family, I never ever looked at one of his players and tried to draw them to come to Holy Family. I had that respect for Jeff, and I still do.
Okay.
And I think he knew that.
Without question.
Where on the other end, Billy came in and took one of his players.
Right.
And that wasn't it. That caused problems.
Right.
Okay.
Now, before we get too far into it, how does volleyball become part of the equation? And explain a little bit how that happens. And it was first you started coaching boys volleyball first, correct?
No.
Oh, it was girls. Okay.
I started the girls program in 1984. I was approached by the assistant superintendent of schools, which at the time was Tony Barone, and he said, when I left St. Peter's, he said to me, "We would like you to coach within the school district," because I never. So he said to me, "We really would like you to coach here." He said, "We have an opening in tennis, and we have an opening, but they didn't have an opening in softball, which would have fell right in because Jeff Stabile was the coach, and I wasn't stepping on anyone's toes."
Right.
And he said, "We'd like to start a volleyball program," and that was after the '84 Olympics with Karsh Karai and St. Smith. And I said, "All right." I thought about it, and I said, "All right, I'll start your volleyball program." So I started volleyball book-wise. I learned and taught myself reading books. I also went to some clinics. One of the people I went to a clinic with was Maria Nolan, and it was up at West Point, and it was, the clinic was one of these Blue Star clinics by Doug Beal, which is USA Volleyball right now.
Right.
And it's a great clinic. Afterwards, they had a social, and we took a ticket, and they ticket, and I won a volleyball. And I said to Maria, "What am I going to do with this? Shoot layups?" Because this was not my thing, And I went over to him, and I said, "This is a new sport thing. Can you just autograph it?" He wrote on it, "Good luck in your new sport, Doug Beal."
Okay.
And Maria went nuts. Because I have an autographed ball from Doug Beal with volleyball.
Okay.
And I started with the girls. And we had clinics, and they would laugh. John Wengurter, Maria Nolan, and some of these other volleyball coaches would laugh at me because when you toss to a player, you toss underhand and you toss high. Well, I was shooting the ball at them. I was still working on my free throws, and they were laughing. They said, you'll get it at some point, but this is not what you do. So I had to be taught. I had to learn what to do for volleyball. And through the years, I learned, and I started the girls in 1984 and the boys program because I ran an intramural program in school, and the boys really took a liking to it. And at the time, Jim Murphy was the superintendent, and I put in the proposal. I said, "For boys volleyball," and he goes, "Boys volleyball?" I said, "Yep, it's going to take off." And they accepted it in 1989. I started the boys program.
Okay. So, and then for the longest time, I'm going to say over 10 years, you were juggling all three at the same time, right?
Right. I coached girls volleyball in the fall in '84, and then I went right into basketball. And then in '89 I started. So from '89 until 2012. I was coaching 3 teams.
Wow. And how tough was that? And now I know it's 3 different seasons, but still, 3 different teams, 3 different sets of names, 3 different sets of uniforms, sets of practice. Sometimes one season overlaps the other. I mean, you must have been like running yourself ragged trying to worry about the 3 teams.
It was hectic, but you know what? It was something that I had become very accustomed to. So, as I would finish one, maybe I'd have a week off, and then I'd go right into the next one. With basketball and volleyball, sometimes it connected, and I had a problem. I also was asked by John Hector. I did some broadcasting with him.
John Hester.
John Hester, yes.
Yes.
We did some broadcasting. So we did a show called out of Cablevision in Bayonne called Focus on Females, and we taped one night a week. And I also did a couple of states. I did one state final in the Meadowlands, and I also did some broadcasting with the state finals down when they had them in Toms River.
Oh wow!
In 2012, I think, 11.
Okay, and you did that with John Hester, or you did that with another?
John Hester, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's great to work with.
Great guy, great.
John is great to work with. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And now he's stepped into the role of being a coach, as he's now the girls' basketball coach at St. Dominic's. So he's doing quite well. All right, so. But it was. I mean, this is juggling three different things and broadcasting at the same time. It must have been. You must have been going nuts, no?
Well, it's just a matter of being organized and, knowing what you have to do, where you have to be, and just doing it, So,
All right.
it was fun.
Okay. Did you ever think that the boys volleyball team would become as much of a state power as it is right now? And how wild is that? That it's now probably the most successful team at Bayonne High School.
I agree, and it's not only just a team; it's a program. The kids have bought into it. The girls are very supportive of the boys. The boys are very supportive of the girls. They come to each other's matches. But I remember with the boys first starting the boys, we would take a ride down to Bridgewater or Lakeland or St. Joe's Metuchen, West Windsor we would travel to because the only teams that had them in Hudson County was Bayonne and North Bergen at the time. Memorial on board yet. And I remember the first year being 2-18.
Ooh.
So you have to start someplace, and then all of a sudden.
And Pat, how tough was it being? And I know fully well that your friend and mentor did the same thing by coaching the boys boys basketball team at Hoboken. But how tough was it for you being a female coaching the boys team, the boys volleyball team? Was it tough at all, or
I didn't find it tough. I found it just. I taught boys, so it didn't really bother me at all. Sometimes I did have some kids that were very, they would hold back because, I'm a female. And I remember one of my coaches, Mr. Roshek, who was played on the national team in Poland, and he said to the two young men, they were brothers, he said, "She's the boss, and if you don't want to listen, she's going to sit you on the bench." And then they got the picture.
Okay.
So, at that point, it was a transition, but I really didn't have that. Just a couple of kids that would be, resistant for me as a female.
Okay.
But
there was no.
I don't have any problems now at all.
No, because you've been there forever. But I was going to say, how difficult was it to start a volleyball program when there was no, say, volleyball feeder system in Bayonne? These kids weren't learning how to play on the grammar school level. They basically had to come to you and learn how to play. And how tough was that when you first started with no feeder system?
Very difficult. And it's still a problem to this day because there is no feeder program in Bayonne. So everybody who comes in, they learn when they come in. So that's another problem, which they're trying to rectify that. We were going to start a league this year with the elementary schools, but obviously with the coronavirus, that's not going to happen. It was going to start in May and go into June, and that's not going to happen now. So hopefully next year, at some point, it will be able to get off the ground.
Okay. Now, I asked you before, and I don't think we got a chance to address it. Did you ever think in your wildest dreams when you first started this program in 1989 that it would become one of the top 5 programs in the state of New Jersey, and that you're ranked amongst the top 10 every single year? Did you ever think that would? And I don't even want to know. I know it's like 9 or 10 county championships. I know it's about 4 or 5 state sectional championships, and you went to the overall state finals a couple times. So, I mean, did you ever think that it was going to become this much of a state power?
Never. Not in my wildest dreams. It just took off, and it just,
And what do you attribute it to? Obviously, they're getting good coaching, but I mean, was it just the kids being interested in the sport and wanting to learn and having the athletic ability to learn?
I think it's kids that, were first of all good students. They were good listeners. They followed directions, and they became competitive. And once they learned it, they really became addicted to it and loved it. And they continued to play, and this is what has helped us through the years. You know.
Well, but it is, it's mind-boggling the success that you've had, considering that there is no feeder program, and the kids had to learn going into high school, and it was not before 1989 there was no such thing as boys volleyball in Bayonne, and look what you've become. It's really just I guess a lot of the credit has to go to the kids, but hey. Somebody's got to be the one driving the bus, and I think you're doing a great job in that respect because the kids listen to you, and obviously they're feeding off of your knowledge of the sport now.
Yeah, no, but we do. We have really good kids there. We've had some people in the circle of 10, and they just have been successful, and they've been competitive, and it's been great. I think the time when the program changed was probably in 2000, I think, is when it changed. So it took us, a good 10, 11 years to get our feet wet. And then I remember going down in the state tournament, going down to Cherry Hill East. And at that point, they played 3 out of 5 sets. And I remember a player by the name of Josh Coffing, and he was an outside hitter. He was a great passer. And he really just, I think, boosted them up. And he was out of Horace Mann School, grammar school. And we went down at Cherry Hill East, and nobody really thought anything of it. And guess what? We beat them.
Yeah.
And then that was on a Tuesday. The next time you played was Thursday. And then we had to go to Cherry Hill West.
Okay, so you had to make the bus drive all the way down there again? Wow.
We had to go down there again. So I told, at that time, I think the athletic director was Joe Broderick. I said, listen, I'm starting to look at some real estate down here. You send me down here so frequently, But I think that's when it really started to take off. And Memorial came in as a very strong team. And then all of a sudden, we started to beat Memorial.
Okay.
And then in 2006, at St. Peter's College, it wasn't a university yet. We played St. Peter's Prep for the county championship, and that was the first.
That was the first one? Okay.
In 2006.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right. So now I'm going to bounce back again a little bit. 2012, the news happens that Holy Family is going to close. And how devastated were you about that, knowing fully well that you put a lot of your heart and soul into coaching basketball at your alma mater?
Devastating. It was just devastating for everybody involved in the program. But I remember in that year, and we finished this season with 8 players.
Wow.
Okay, so practices were really difficult because you needed even to scrimmage. You needed to. So I would recruit my volleyball kids that didn't have a clue of playing basketball and say, I need you to just put your hands up on the ball as if you're blocking somebody. And I would bring them down, and that's, we would prepare. So I do remember going up to Marist, playing Marist at Marist.
And that's 2012?
Yep.
And they were good.
The coach at that time is Alice DeFazio.
Yep. Okay.
And she had come to Holy Family and had beaten us by just maybe 5-6 points at Holy Family because you played everybody twice. But we went up to Marist this night, and we pressed them. We got some steals. We were, and lo and behold, we beat them. And I remember Charlie DeLay, longtime assistant coach of mine, great man, said to me, Coach, I'm opening up the Jameson tonight. This is a great win. and Alice, I think, was beside herself because there's no way we should have beaten them.
No, not if she had Division I players and you had just the ones you were like I don't remember who was your last Division I player at that point. Was it? It could have been Cindy Mikowski. Was she the last one?
No.
Robin.
I had Robin Algeria.
Robin Algeria. That's okay.
Robin Algeria went to Princeton.
Yep.
I also had a player who didn't go on to college, but she was a dynamic player, Jill Cummings, who was
Oh,
the
sure.
same year as Robin Alfieri.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a 1,000-point scorer and a 1,000-point rebounder, like Jill.
Right.
You know, but Robin lives in London. She has a house in South Carolina. She has 5 children.
Wow.
And she has paternal twin daughters. They are freshmen. One is a freshman at Harvard, and the other one is a freshman at North Carolina, and they play field hockey.
Oh my God.
And yep, and it lists, if you look, her last name is Weber. Her daughter is at North Carolina, and they won the national championship.
Oh my God! Wow, that's wild. I'll have to look into that. All right. So now, but at that point, did you never think about going back to coaching basketball anywhere else, or did you say, that's it? I'd done it for enough, and you were gonna concentrate just on coaching boys and girls volleyball?
I did, and then I just stayed with volleyball because I'm still coaching. I'm coaching in the fall and I coach in the spring. But obviously now we're just, with this coronavirus, we've got boys that are, not happy. And this team would have been an extremely young team that I was looking to build for next year. On this team are only 2 seniors.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The rest of them are all sophomores and juniors.
Oh gosh. All right.
So,
All right. So, how do you like you like the idea that you're still active and you're still coaching the 2 sports, and then obviously you're no longer teaching though, right? Or are you still teaching too?
Oh no, I teach.
Okay.
I'm still teaching.
God bless.
I teach volleyball.
You teach volleyball.
Okay. I teach volleyball. So
okay.
People come into my class, and obviously they learn in my class too, and then some people get the idea and they can to try out from that. So they learn the skills with me.
Okay.
In the program that we have at Bayonne.
All right. But we talked about this, last year when it got to 1,000 wins for the 3 sports. Did you think much of it then, or then when all of a sudden when it then got up to like 1,500, were you saying to yourself, "Wow, this is really impressive"? Or did you think at all of how impressive it was for you to be able to win as many times as you did with the 3 sports?
Not at all. I was just going in and doing my job,
And never thought about the enormity of how impressive it was to be as victorious as you were, as many times as you were.
No, I mean I just went about and did what I had to do. It was great to achieve that when I did. But you keep moving forward. You keep doing what you enjoy doing, and I do enjoy doing it. Otherwise, I would have left a long time ago. But I do enjoy doing it. I enjoy working with the kids, and seeing them succeed. I don't think last year when the boys, I think they knew that I needed another one for 500 because they were so pumped up, and it was both the boys team and the girls team did it against Memorial. And Memorial was always the powerhouse in volleyball.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's pretty ironic that you ended up getting the 500th win of both the boys and the girls against Memorial.
Yeah. The boys was in April last year, April 18th.
Okay.
2019, and the girls was September 14th in 2018.
Okay.
In the fall season.
All right. So all in all, Pat, do obviously you're still going, so it's not to look at it that your career is over by any stretch of the imagination. But do you look at it as being pretty fascinating or pretty impressive that you're able to be a coach for as long as you have, to be as successful as long as you have, and to do it all right in the town where you were born and raised?
I think it is impressive. I'm honored to be a part of this, and it's a great feeling to see the kids succeed. To come out with a victory with, when you think like at Marist, we didn't think we had a chance, and then you come out with a victory, when they have much better players. So you're seeing people succeed. Do I enjoy what I do? I do. I enjoy what I do. If I didn't, I would be going to school every day. I wouldn't be doing what I do. So when it's time, when I'm ready, then I'll go. But I'm not ready to go right now.
Good. Well, we're not ready to have you go either, and excuse me. From my standpoint, it's one of the most remarkable careers in all of the state of New Jersey, and it's amazing that you're able to be as successful as you have been with the three sports. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today, and thanks for being my guest. And good luck in the future. We'll definitely keep in touch. There's no question. So, but
thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and always a pleasure to deal with you and your wife. And I hope that you have continued success with your weight loss, because that's a great accomplishment.
Oh, thank you very much.
But I would like you to try some of my baked goods.
Okay, I'm ready, Pat. I think I could take some of it. So whenever you're ready to share some of that with Mary and myself, we'd be glad to take it. So
sounds good to me.
All right, great talking to you, Pat. Thanks so much for the past hour, and we will keep in touch. Okay.
Thank you so much, Jim.
All right, bye now.
Bye.
And that was the legendary girls and boys volleyball coach at Bayonne High School and the former girls basketball coach at Holy Family in Bayonne, Pat Longo. Thank you very much for listening to today's version of the Hudson County Sports Podcast. Again, my thanks to the executive producer of the show is my nephew Johnny Haig, who put this all together. Without him, it wouldn't have happened. And we'll have another edition of the Hudson County Sports Podcast for you next week. Thanks for listening. Take care.